In my former life, I used to work in insurance. There I am. And if you're wondering who the handsome young man is next to me, that's Pope Benedict XVI. Now, this photo is from my days in Rome. I did a master's in Bible studies. But before going to Rome, I did 1 year of preparation in order to do this master, which is quite tough. And during that year, I couldn't work full time. So I was given a part-time position. And that position was as a chaplain at the hospital. Now, what does that mean? It means that I was there to give spiritual support to the patients and medical staff. If you were Catholic and wanted communion or confession, I do that. I would accompany people in their passage through the hospital. Mainly, it meant me walking around in a white jacket, pretending to be a doctor. Now, was I prepared for this job? Absolutely not. I was 27 years old, and I had to spend a whole morning every day for a year in a hospital around so many sick people. I was absolutely not ready. So this year for me was a year of growth, of many lessons. And I remember early on one day walking into one of the infirmaries in the hospital, lots of beds. And in the corner, there was this young lady. She couldn't have been more than 40. And she was standing next to the window in her light green robe. She had these gray puffy slippers, long brown hair, and very pale skin and very skinny. And as I walked into the room, she turned to me and I turned to her, and our eyes connected. And then just like that, she turned and continued looking out the window. I went about talking to people and ended up leaving. And there I was the next day walking in. And as I walked in, I looked to the corner. This time she was sitting on her bed. She was reading a book. And when I walked in, she raised her head from a book. She looked at me, our eyes connected again. And then something happened and we disconnected. And this kind of thing happened for a few days. Eventually, I asked one of the nurses, "Who's the young lady in the corner?" And the nurse said, "That's Anna. She's got terminal cancer. The bad kind, the fast kind." And I remember thinking, oh, that's why she's different. Because most of the people that were there, they're going to go home. And if you were going to die, most of the ones, they didn't know that they were going to die. And if they were a little bit more elderly, they were becoming acquainted or friends with death. But she was just too young to know for sure that her death was imminent. And so I remember thinking, wow, well, then I'll just give her space. And when she's ready, if she's ready, I'll be here for her. And it's normal to be terrified. Probably she doesn't know what to say. And so our little ritual went on for another week or so. I'd walk in, we'd connect, and then I'd go about doing my thing and we wouldn't talk. Until one day, I come to the hospital, I look to the corner, and Anna wasn't in the corner. I look around the room, and she wasn't there either. So I asked the nurse, where's Anna? And the nurse told me the time is coming. We've put her in a private room for her to feel more comfortable. And immediately I said, can I go see her? And she said, of course. And before I even being able to realize that this was actually going to be the first time that we spoke, I already had knocked on the door and I was on my way in. And as soon as she saw me, her face lit up with a wonderful smile. She stretched out her hand. So I held her hand, or she held mine. And I didn't really know what to say. So I said, "Hello, I'm Tobias. I'm the chaplain." And she started laughing. Of course, she was tired of knowing who I was. And so she looked at me and said, well, hi, I'm Anna, as if to tease me. Of course, I knew who she was. And then for the next 2 or 3 minutes, I sat there and, asked her how she was, and she did most of the talking, chit chat. Eventually, I saw by her face and her eyes that she was getting tired. And I said, how about, I let you rest and I'll come back tomorrow. She said, for sure. And so I left and I never came back. That night, Anna passed away. A few days later, I was sat at home on my sofa. I was having a glass of red wine. And I was thinking about this interaction with Anna, and something was off. When I walked in, she seemed totally ready. She smiled. She didn't seem fearful. She was actually very playful, and she took a piss at me. And it didn't seem like she was lost for words, because we had a conversation very easily. And it was as I was reflecting that it hit me that I had gotten that situation the other way around, completely wrong. It was the opposite. I was the one that was not ready to face and to have an interaction with someone that had certain death at their door. I was terrified of that situation. I didn't know what to say. I wasn't ready. And it was then that I realized that when I was ready, she was there for me. So Anna taught me one of the biggest lessons of that year working in a hospital, which was when when I face situations that are different, that are new, that are awkward, she taught me to take a step back and look at myself. Because it was very easy for me to put the burden on her, to think that it was her who was having a hard time dealing with it, when in reality it was me who had the hard time understanding, coping, and managing that situation. And so the same way that I did that evening, I'll do tonight. I'll raise a glass of wine to Anna, not only to that Anna, but to all the Annas in our lives, to the people that we have that patiently and lovingly help us look at things the other way around, the opposite way, and that help us accept and grow with situations that are different, awkward, and difficult. To the Annas of our lives.